You got all of this information.
Uh,
It's all on the
Yeah, I got that.
Good afternoon. I want to thank you all for your patience. At this time, I would like to call the October 16th meeting of Benton Harbor's Planning Commission to order. City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Archibald,
Well,
Commissioner Bell. Present. Commissioner Henry.
Present.
Commissioner Hensel,
Present.
Commissioner Marshall, Commissioner Yarborough, Manager Mitchell, Mayor Mohammed, Chairman Reed.
Present.
You have a quorum.
This time, I would like to make a motion for the approval of the agenda if there are no changes, or additions or deletions.
So moved.
A second.
Motion is made by Commissioner Hensel and supported by Commissioner Bell. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Archibald,
yes.
Commissioner Bell,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Hensel,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion carried.
At this time, I would like to make a motion to approve the August 1st regular meeting minutes and also the September the 28th meeting minutes. Are there any changes, additions, or deletions to either? Hearing none, would you call the roll for the approval of the minutes?
Support.
Sorry about that.
Commissioner Archibald,
Yes.
Commissioner Bell. Yes. Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Hensel,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion carried.
This time, I'd like to open the meeting up for public comment. If anybody wish to make any comments. Hearing none, we will close this portion of our meeting and we will move on to new business. New business would be the site plan review for the 968 yard property ID 11-53 1300-0026-00-1 and the 807 Wells Street parcel ID is 11-53-1300-0015-0108 for expand unit development. We have a presentation of presenters.
Pardon? You should have a copy. Does anyone not have a copy?
Yes. I think that is.
Okay, do I need to talk into the mic?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Erin Hudson. I am the Executive Director of Harbor Habitat for Humanity. I am a partner in Project T LLC, along with my development partners, Renovare Development. I'm here today with Aaron Yonker. He is leading the construction management for Project T, and Brian McDowell from Fishbeck. He is our civil engineer and planning consultant. We are here today to submit our plan for, ask for approval of our site plan. As some of you are aware, we received a contingent missing middle award, and that condition is based on approval of our site plan. There are a few others, but approval of the site plan is key. Project T will be located at 960 Agard and 807 Weld. It is going to be a development of 77 units, 19 of which are duplexes, single family ownership. The duplexes will be for residents who make 30 to 120% of the AMI. There will also be a mixed-use apartment building with commercial space on the ground floor. That will have 39 apartment units. It will also include common space for the residents, where we will have seating and fire pits. This is what we are discussing at present for that space. At this time, I will hand it over to Brian McDowell to talk through our site plan specifically. Thank you.
Thank you all. So if you look at the site plan, to the north, there's a mixed-use building that's 13,200 square feet in size. Adjacent to that, there is a parking lot that's intended to serve that facility. It features 101 parking spaces. In addition to that, along Union and Weld, there are the 19 duplex units. There's also an access drive off of Weld Street to access 3 of the duplexes and the parking lot. In addition to that, a couple other site features. There are light poles planned for in the parking lot. The access drive is also planning for lights, but those will be more of a residential type fixture. And then on the landscape plan, there is also screening implemented for headlight shielding for adjacent residences from the parking lot. That's what I have to present at this point. Anything else from?
Yeah, no, I think that's great.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it, Mike. We did receive some feedback from the fire marshal, and we will be addressing that feedback. We don't see any issue with anything that he requested. We just want to ask if there are any other questions or items that you would like to address today.
I know we approved the PUD. I would like for someone to explain that to us one more time, where we can understand what exactly is that PUD. And then I'll talk about some other issues. But let everyone know that we're taping this and we need to let everyone know exactly what's going on in this project. So PUD has been come up and I couldn't explain it to my constituents as well as you guys could. So that's
Can you take
Sure.
Mr. Little or somebody over there.
Yeah, I can respond to that. So essentially, the PUD is essentially a rezoning measure. So currently the site is zoned as local commercial. And so this PUD allows for a little more flexibility with the zoning ordinance to allow this type of development, essentially.
And it's something special because we do have that authority to change the zoning anywhere, anytime we want. So that was the question that they asked. Well, what is the difference in a PUD and in the authority that the charter gives us already? So, not my question.
PUD, plan unit development, gives you the greatest flexibility for mixing uses, whether it's residential, commercial, or whatever. And you generally have flexibility of the whole project. They submit whatever their plans are for review. You review them, and if it's consistent and satisfactory, then they're able to do it. Where your individual zoning, residential, commercial, or whatever, limits the flexibility for doing those things.
I think it's also very specific to, like a PUD development as rezoning is specific to this plan. Whereas if it was rezoned specific just to residential, then that would open the door for any type of residential development that fit within that zoning. This is a zoning that's just this plan is allowed. So it allows the city to be a little more specific and prescriptive about what they might require on the site and that type of thing versus just a residential zoning might have a lot wider guardrails, or is this is specific to this plan is what is getting approved with the rezone.
That mean anybody else want to put up something of that similar caliber will have to come back to the city and get the PUD?
That's correct, right? Whereas just a residential rezone, we could propose this, but then someone else could come along later and do something different as long as it met the overall residential guidelines. So this is more specific and kind of provides some guardrails that the city can use to make sure they get specifically, what they want to do there as well. So.
Thank you. This is something completely different. For years, Third Ward has asked about Wells Street. It's a one-way street. The locals want it to be a two-way street, and I could explain to them why it's a one-way street in the first place, and any understanding. So that is my constituents' question about Wells Street, and if we can make those arrangements while we're in this project, they thought it was a great time to do it. So to educate us as to why that street is there and can it be changed.
It's a different matter that needs.
It is very different.
Right.
But
It's
I
a
wanted to
review
throw
for
it out
public
there.
safety and so forth.
Please direct all your comments from me, please. Commissioner Archibald?
Yeah, let's see, it's coming off Wells, coming to that back parking lot. Looks like you've got like a little road coming through. Coming off Wells, coming to the back of that parking lot of the building. Now, would that be required to be kept up in snow removal and stuff of that nature by the city, or would that be done by the complex? Is that additional?
That's going to be a private, right?
I thought we were looking for the city to take care of it.
Do you remember?
That was one
We'll
of the
have to come
issues
back.
that the fire marshal brought up, that there would have to be snow removal as part of this.
Yeah, my understanding is it would be privately maintained by the owner and that owns the mixed use building because it's providing access to the. Yep. So it's going to be a site condominium. So the homeowners will have a small. There'll be some collective maintenance that's done as part of the site condominium, and plowing that street and maintaining that access will be a part of that.
Because it does affect some of the houses too, so.
That's correct. Yeah.
I have a comment about Weld Street. I'm pretty sure Weld Street is one way because of the hospital, and what was there at the time. So looking at the width of that street, I don't see any technical reason why it can't be two ways. So if that's something that we want the public safety department to look into, I think that could be done separately from what we're doing today, but is worth looking into. Just like we're reopening Eggert Street, which doesn't really exist on paper, it's on here, and it will be, put in place. Eggert Street was abandoned specifically for the hospital building owners. And so all of that was arranged for that particular project back in those days. So circulation around the development, I think, is important for safety and it's important for the access of the residents.
And quick in and out to Pipestone, when we come in, have to go all the way around and come back to a point where you're just about a block away from it.
Is that a two-way street?
Was this submitted to
Actually,
the city architect, Alan March, for a review?
yes.
Because I think that they wanted to do some work on Union and on Well, due to the cutouts, access to sewers, and water. So, do we have the report yet?
Yes, sir, we do. But we didn't get it beforehand.
Well, I know one concern that was expressed to me by the engineers is that because of the number of cutouts that will be required on both Union and on Well, that we'll be making a requirement that those streets be milled and resurfaced.
Go ahead and do that work, you might as well take advantage of it.
Yeah, the number of cuts would make it prohibited to do anything other than that, right?
Commissioner Hensel?
I have a question, in the comments that aren't here for all the planning commissioners from the fire marshal, there was a concern about a broken fire hydrant at Pipestone and Empire. I don't know how that relates to this development, but the fact that there's one that's out of service at the corner is a concern to everyone, not only the people who are building there now, but people who live around there. Is that one of the, can anyone say, is that one of the hydrants that's on the list for replacement?
It is not on the current list.
Okay. So, maybe the staff could look into how we deal with that.
Good concern.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
there was a comment a moment ago about AGARD, and I didn't quite understand what was said. Would that be repeated?
Comment about,
Yes. One way. You come, you go right.
No, that's
One
Well,
way route.
that's Well Street, that's one right now. That's what I was thinking of, Well Street was a one-way.
Because AGARD through the property while it was abandoned some years ago, when the hospital was there. That street has been vacated. Half of the ownership goes to one side, one property owner, and the other half goes to the other.
I made that comment, I think that street was routed one way towards Weld Street. Excuse me, towards, that's Union, towards Union. And the idea was to manage circulation around that intersection of Empire and Pipestone and then get people in and out of parking lots that are not being used right now. So that's why, in my view, it makes sense to look at all of it over again and see what makes sense for the city in terms of circulation for the neighborhood.
That can be looked at. We can have public safety review it and come back with a recommendation regarding it, separate from this.
Have we had public safety do a review of all of the submitted information?
I'm not sure that all of it has been completed, but I know part of it was reviewed. It's where the fire
My concern
marshals.
is that we received a lot of information just last Thursday evening and some Friday. So have we had an opportunity to review all of this information, come to any kind of conclusion?
I can just speak on behalf of myself as being the fire marshal. It was very rushed. In the future, I would like to have at least a week between the receiving it and the meeting. I know Loyal from the building department was kind of the same boat.
Very rushed, right?
So you need more time to review.
Would be great if we did, yes, sir.
At one point, this is supposed to have sufficient time. There was no action anticipated today. when we did the outline of the schedule for trying to get this, whatever done, as a matter of fact, today's meeting was going to be canceled. But it was to allow time for everybody to be able to review. As initially, we even talked about possibly the 28th, if you recall, for final action. So I don't believe we've got all of the information even in yet.
Are we making a recommendation that we,
Mr. Chair,
yes, the mayor?
has the chief code compliance officer, has he weighed in? Because I see something here from his vantage point for a letter. It says 980 Agard Avenue parcel. There's nothing in the zoning area that will prohibit the use of this property. The Code Compliance Department recommends that 980 Agard Avenue and 807 Will have conditional approval, providing all unanswered questions be addressed on the completion of the site plan for Project T. So I know that, a development of this size and this investment, there's going to be moving parts. And I think it is prudent that the Public Safety Department and their role do their due diligence. But I think that the Chief Code Compliance Department, from what I can see, is signing off in that all of the other unanswered questions be addressed prior to the ultimate approval, or a conditional approval, providing all unanswered questions. So the approval can be conditional, recommended that it be conditional, but the condition is that all of the questions be answered on the site plan. Mr. Chair, can the Chief Code Compliance Officer speak to that?
We already did.
If, Mr. Chair, if I may, I'll let a building inspector just touch on a few things for Brian, because you're the architect builder, correct? You guys? So
Civil engineer.
Yep, this will probably answer our questions right now, if that's fine with you, Mr. Chair.
Well, this will answer what we know of the site plan with the time we had to look at it.
Right.
So the first thing is the building separation. What is the separation between the buildings? That wasn't mentioned on the print.
I don't,
Good question. I think it's off the cuff. I think it's around 20 feet, I believe, because the driveways are 9.
I'm sorry, can you speak in the mic?
Yeah, sorry. I'd have to confirm, but I think it's around 20 feet currently.
Then the minimum width of the yard opening, what was that? Because that wasn't dimensioned out either. And
The
then,
width of the yard opening,
correct.
those are 56-foot parcels for the duplexes.
Well, right, but the open yard,
Commissioner Hensel has some information he would like to.
Well, I just wondered, did you actually get this?
I got a bigger version of
Okay,
that.
well, some of those dimensions are on the drawings.
Did you see the dimension between the buildings?
No,
I thought I saw enough.
Yeah, the dimensions
Let me
between
know
the
that there's
buildings.
20 feet between them, yeah.
Where did you find that on the front? Because I couldn't find it.
Just added up the space that's in there.
you added it up, huh?
Yeah.
So
It's 10 feet for each side of that line in the duplex, so it's 10 feet.
C401.
C3. And then the space between them is minimal, so
I'm not,
it's,
I mean, if you're talking driveway dimensions, are Are you talking driveway dimensions, or are you talking actual dimension building to building?
Yeah, so,
It should be more, building to building, than the 20 feet.
So
Okay,
that's,
yeah, currently there's no dimension shown, but if you take the property line 56 and the building width of 28, divide that by 2, I think you end up with 19 feet. Well, 19 times 2, which would be 38 feet total between buildings.
Director Little, you want to make a comment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I laid out the schedule with the concurrence of everybody involved in it. And the initial plan was that, I mean, there's no urgency to approve a site plan today. Today was a day to receive this information, and we would have an opportunity to review it and so forth. And as a matter of fact, we talked about the 28th in a day when we could have sufficient time to finish reviewing everything and act on
So you would recommend that we
it. We receive it and have an
don't have a
opportunity to go over it.
sufficient amount of information to move forward on this today? Is that your recommendation, that we
That's my recommendation.
comments? Would that have an
Yeah.
impact on the,
Well, I think that, again, as the chief code compliance officer in the letter here, it's conditional. So it's not in blood that it's approved today. You know, it seems to me that the office that's responding is admitting, or at its own admission, saying that there are unanswered questions. But given the zoning, that's all in compliance. The unanswered questions is where we have to vet it, dig it out, what have you. You see what I'm saying? So as far as, like you said, the 19 times 2 is 38. That's not on here in writing, but when they can get with the staff and flush all those things out, then when we get to the 28th, if there are further unanswered questions, then of course, we have to act in compliance with the recommendation, where it's still conditional. But I think that the site plan and what, and I agree here with the letter, that, you know, it should be in a conditional. I don't think we need to, but I would like to see, I think they started asking questions and started getting some clarity for that to continue while we have the clock running. I mean, it's not a 2-minute warning, but I think that while we're here, and I pardon my tardiness, but I think we can maximize some time if we have it.
Commissioner Hensel, you had something you wanted to add?
Well, I think what I'm hearing makes sense to me in light of the letter that we received. And I think it's consistent with other action we've taken on other projects, including the I&M substation and the Corwell project. Any of the concerns that are raised in the letter from the fire marshal, which are included in our packet, could be included as conditions to be met before, just as conditions that have to be met and brought back to the planning commission so we can remove them one by one. Which, again, that's what we've done in the past with projects in order to try to keep them moving forward. And since we don't have anything in our letter saying that it doesn't comply, and we've already approved the the PUD, I think it makes sense to move forward, that's my opinion.
what specific conditions do they have to meet? So if we give a conditional approval, what would those conditions be?
Well, that's where I think that, Mr. Chair, the unanswered question, and that's why when our Chief Code Compliance Officer, Bruce, began to ask certain questions, but I think there was a rupture in that process because we started getting other communication from the floor. So I would request that they can continue that process, and then from there, we'll know.
The next regular meeting of the planning commission is the 14th of next month. Would that jeopardize the project in any way?
It could. We were given until September 30th to meet the missing middle requirements. So we're on borrowed time at this point. And Mr. Little did write a letter to MISTA on behalf of all of us asking for more time. We don't know how much more time will be given. And we are absolutely willing, if we get an approval based on conditions, we are going to work diligently with the staff to make sure all of those items are addressed. So there's no worry that this project will go forward without addressing the needs of the staff and the concerns. But because we are on borrowed time, I would be very nervous about waiting until November to get this site plan approved.
Commissioner Henry and then Commissioner Archibald.
Thank you, Chair. Of course, everybody knows that this project is in my ward. I'm very pleased now, after seeing some of the things that have been offered to our residents. And I know in the past, we have did conditional approval for other projects. And I want to see us to move forward with this project as it is right now, with all our questions, our staff is asking, and once we get those answers, we should not have any problems with moving forward or even stopping them from moving forward with our conditional approval. We really need to do this now.
Commissioner Archibald.
Yeah, my question is, with a conditional approval, will that allow you guys to move forward?
I believe so. I believe that will meet MISTA's requirement.
I was going to ask, were there any other questions that they needed to address?
So there's an email that I put together.
Yes.
Sorry, I kind of had to get going. I got another meeting, but the minimum width of the open yard area is one that was per our zoning. Parking area design and dimensions, they had 22 feet for aisles on their parking lot. I think our zoning calls for 24 with the size parking spaces they had. Then the dimensional standards, were they established during the original rezoning application? And if so, can the code compliance department get copied on that information? Then the other thing is, will the city be requiring an architectural review of this project? That's Article 6.4.5E2. I didn't know if the city would be requiring any of that. Then we have the 6.4.15 plan development unit approval criteria. Did the approval criteria get met per our zoning ordinance? Did they meet all the requirements that we require? And then the fire marshal had obviously his hydrant spacing and stuff on that as well. There were some things that I don't know if they were addressed already or not. And if they have been, can that information just get forwarded to the proper people? So that's all.
Mr. Chair.
I think the PUD stuff should be available to you. Maybe it just hasn't come to the department yet. I don't know what the distribution is between you of the action that we took. It's in our minutes, but we felt that as a group anyway, we felt that it was the conditions were met under the plan development. We can certainly address the the hydrant spacing, and those things specifically in motion today. Also, looked at the measurements of the parking dimensions, and the parking spaces are 10 feet. And according
I
to,
saw some that were, it was 9 by 18.
18, I saw that too.
That's what I saw. And then according to our zoning, it calls for a 24-foot aisleway. So I guess there's just some dimensional stuff
right,
on this
so that
site
is like
plan
sorted out.
that doesn't match up with what is on it.
So I saw 10-foot spaces, and that might be why they would do a 22-foot aisle.
So, and they have a setback of, I believe, 30 feet here, but the setbacks on the drawing call for a 15, 10, 10. So there's some dimensional discrepancies on the print that I can't approve the print the way it is.
Well, that's
So,
okay.
so those are the unanswered questions in there.
There were also some measurement issues raised by Paul, the planner that we have. Addressed also. That was a reason why we set the schedule the way we did, and everybody agreed to it. There's no reason you couldn't call a special meeting for the 28th to finalize the site plan, as it didn't have to go to the commission.
The issue that's confronting us right now is, do we approve this conditionally? And as soon as we are able to meet the conditions, how much additional time do we need?
Maybe a week.
28.
7, would a week affect us?
I want to make a motion to, in line with the recommendations from the Chief Code Compliance Department, to approve this item conditionally, providing all unanswered questions be addressed on the completion of the site plan for the project team.
I support.
Motion is made by the mayor and it is supported by Commissioner Henry. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bell,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Hensel,
Yes,
Mayor Mohammed,
Yes.
Commissioner Archibald,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. We have a conditional approval. We are going to give the staff an extra time to meet those conditions. And as soon as they come to conclusions, everybody will be notified, and if we need to take any additional measures between now and then, I'm not sure. What that might entail, but we'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no,
Chair.
Yeah.
I just want to have an understanding of this so I can know. When I see a lot of information not being shared and people not being in place with knowledge, I'm asking that whatever happens from this project from now on, especially the questions that were asked, that they would at least give it to us so we have an idea of what's going on. I hate it when somebody says that they don't have information that should be automatically shared among us. So I'm asking through the chair that those questions that our staff have, to please address it to us as well. Thank you.
any other comments? Yes.
How soon would we be able to get a copy of the resolution stating that we have a conditional approval?
So there won't be a resolution, but I can get you the minutes.
Okay. Will that work?
I would think so. I don't know.
Yeah, because the planning commission doesn't technically do the resolutions, those go to the city commission. The city commission doesn't have to approve this as conditional,
Okay.
so I can get the minutes done and send them over to you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, if there is no additional discussion, we'll move on to old business. Commissioner Marshall and Commissioner Yarborough excused. And I believe yeah, those are on the
Did you get these? An agenda and all, a packet? Okay, so you have the questions
Oh, they're in
Right.
here.
on the last page.
Okay.
And then there's also the engineering, review from
Okay.
Adam Marsh, so.
Here.
Okay. Thank you.
Moving on, are there any comments by the commissioners? If there are no comments, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Support.
Motion is made by the chairman, supported by the mayor. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Archibald,
Yes.
Commissioner Bell. Yes. Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Hensel,
Yes?
Mayor Mohammed,
Yes.
Chairman Reed,
Yes.
motion carried.
So do we know if they're, now that we're not on the air,